Drivers and Danica, start your engines!
Pull those belts down tight one more time. Warm up those tires. Hit your marks and let's go racing, boys and girls. NASCAR, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, NHRA, and local dirt track and drag strip racing talk. This is the fastest hour in radio.
Where'd you go? Where's your home? How'd you end up all alone? Can you hear me now? Hear me.
Here's your host, Steve West and Dustin Harmer, with producer John Myers.
It is that time. Figure out what the heck we're trying to do here on this show.
Something. It's something.
Oh, we got plenty to get to here. I got news for you. I kept coming up with news story after news story after news story. I should have gone back in and pre-edited. But you know what? We're going to try and get in as much as we can possibly get in.
Yeah, because when I opened that up and hit the scroll button and it just kept going and going.
I know.
I was like, hello, Energizer
I just kept coming
Bunny.
across this things that just go, you know what? We really ought to talk about that. And you know what? We really ought to talk about this. Wait a minute. We should talk about that, too.
Before you realize that your computer says,
yeah, really.
memory gone.
And then I look down and I realize that on Windows Word, I'm sitting on page 10.
Information overload.
Indeed.
It's like Johnny Five from Short Circuit.
Yes.
Input.
Oh, we got input. We're going to try and do the output side here shortly. I'm Steve West. That guy is Dustin Harmer. That guy running the board is John Myers, and he will answer the phones if you call 941-1011 or toll free at 866-551-9933. Plus, you can get in touch with us in a myriad of other ways.
That's right. You can find us, of course, on Facebook, facebook.com/The Fastest Hour in Radio, Instagram @FastestHour, Twitter @FastestHour, and of course, if you miss any of the replays, because we got replays tonight at 8.
And tomorrow morning at 8:30.
And tomorrow morning at 8:30. I always mess up the Sunday. I always want to push it back because I just want you to get so much.
By the way, news, we're going to have about that coming up, not this week, but next week.
We are?
Yes.
I love finding out stuff.
Yes.
Yay! You can also check us out on our YouTube channel. We've got a YouTube channel.
Yes,
and we upload all of our shows each week. YouTube.com. Look up The Fastest Hour in Radio. Hit that subscribe button and make sure you get that weekly email.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Love to have you a part of it. All right, here we go. Racing last weekend in order of race start. Begins with the Camping World Truck Series. They ran the Alpha Energy Solutions 250 at Martinsville Speedway. That will air on the Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio beginning at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time. Now, again, that's actually this weekend, not last weekend, because there was no racing last weekend. Last weekend was Easter weekend.
I was going to say, I missed something.
I'm already confusing myself.
You're so excited about Martinsville. We all are.
Yes, exactly. I love the paperclip.
Yes.
Okay, so all the racing is this weekend. Again, Camping World Truck Series today airs on the Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio beginning 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time. Qualifying this morning is right about the time we get off the air at 9 a.m., so we don't know who's got the pole position. Later this evening, FIA Formula E Series gets their Long Beach E-Prix underway with coverage on Fox Sports 1 at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central Time. Going to run on a modified version of the Indycar course. Not quite as long, but it's 17 turns on 1.3 miles. It's a street course, so there you go. Also, they will qualify just before they race. Open wheel racing coverage will then continue tonight. Verizon IndyCar Series running the Desert Diamond West Valley Phoenix Grand Prix. Running under the lights at the oddly shaped 1 mile tri-oval. That airs on the NBC Sports Network and IMS Radio Network. That begins at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. Elio Castroneves got the pole. Tony Kanon's on the outside of the front row. Castroneves set a new track speed record in qualifying. He ran 1 mile. Remember this. 1 mile.
1 mile.
At full speed, averaging 192.324 miles an hour.
That's booking it. That is straight booking it.
That is, now granted, IndyCar hasn't run at Phoenix since 2007, but this breaks a record that goes back 20 years. Ari Luyendyk set it in 1996. That's how big this was. That's a long time. Congratulations to him. Also found out that every single one of the top 10 cars is powered by a Chevrolet, and all of the top 6 drivers are over 30 years old. Good for the old guys.
Old people getting it done.
That's right. Sunday morning racing coverage will start off with the Bahrain Grand Prix for Formula One. That runs on the 15-turn, 3.36-mile-long Bahrain International Circuit. Coverage on the NBC Sports Network will get underway at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central Time. They will qualify later today, so we don't know who sits on the pole for that, but in all likelihood, if the practice sessions hold out, it'll be Nico Rosberg. Sprint Cup Series, I know, shocking, right?
Yeah.
Sprint Cup Series at Martinsville Speedway, STP 500. That'll be on Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio. Coverage getting underway noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time for Sunday. Joey Logano has claimed the pole position for the race. Casey Kane's also in the front row. Joey Logano, this is his third straight pole win at Martinsville. First time that's happened at the track since Jeff Gordon did it in the 2003 and 2004 seasons. And then following the Sprint Cup Series race, Fox Sports 1 goes into coverage of the NHRA's Denso Sparkplugs NHRA Nationals from Las Vegas, scheduled to begin their coverage at about 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central Time, of course, pending what happens with the Sprint Cup Series race.
Yes.
Because they will butt up right up against each other.
Yes, and it could get a little dicey at the end.
It could, but then again, that's why I guess they have Fox Sports 2. If they want to, they'll start coverage on Fox Sports 2 and then transfer it over to Fox Sports 1 after they finally get done with what could potentially be Demolition Derby.
Yes.
You've kind of come up with a prediction when it comes to this. We mentioned Joey Logano sitting on the pole now for this third straight Martinsville Series race. This is the scene
Yes.
of all of the drama that took place last year as we got into the third of the 4 segments of the chase last year. And you think that Joey Logano, he'll enjoy the pole position and the lead for a very short time.
Yeah, I think so. I think going into 1 and 2 down there at the paperclip is going to be, especially if there's this 20 Toyota sitting behind him at any point in the race.
And you said Matt Kenseth is rolling off where?
He's rolling off ninth.
Ninth, so not terribly far behind. But
and he's got a lot of speed there. And
yeah.
It's just qualifying is qualifying.
And he's on the preferred line.
He is.
Being the odd number that he is, that means he's on the inside line.
Mm-hmm.
Outside line in at Martinsville, not really the preferred place to be when you're rolling off too wide. It is interesting to note. I mean, you were noticing kind of some of the people that are in there. We mentioned Joey Logano. Casey Kane, who has not really blown up anything this year so far with a nice, exactly, nice qualifying run for him rolling off second. Listen to some of these other names.
Yeah, you got Brian Vickers rolling off third, Paul Menard rolling off fourth, Ryan Newman rolls off fifth, and AJ Allmendinger rolling off sixth. And in the rest of the top 10, a couple of the normal guys you'd see up there. Kyle Busch rolling off in seventh, Denny Hamlin eighth, Matt Kenseth rolling off ninth, and Chase Elliott, the rookie, rolls off 10th. So
good qualifying run for him.
It's a little bit different of the top 10 that's going to start rolling off. But you're right, he's going to have that preferred line.
Yeah.
He's going to gain quite a few spots in a couple of laps as those guys try and maneuver in. But when Joey goes into 1 and 2, he sees that 20 Toyota sitting behind him. He's going to see some ghosts, and I don't know if that's going to mess him up or not. We'll see.
Flashbacks.
Yes,
We'll
bad
see.
flashbacks.
Yeah, exactly. And that brings us very quickly, again, since there was no racing on Easter weekend, to getting some off-the-track news. And this is kind of interesting, and I'm not sure how this will affect things because, well, let's see. Chevrolet is the current defending... Well, I'll tell you what. We'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
General Motors, specifically the Chevrolet division, obviously a long and storied history in racing, considering in 2015 alone they locked down no less than 11 manufacturers' championships along sports like NASCAR, Indycar, the NHRA, and several more series. Seems kind of appropriate now that they have a new facility to house that hardware. It's called the GM Powertrain Performance and Racing Center. It's in Pontiac, ironically, Michigan. It is now open, and not just for housing the hardware. It also helps develop engines for their several racing divisions, all part of a $200 million investment by the company into motorsports technology. So as opposed to some companies that are trying to figure out, hey, are we in or are we out? Chrysler, Dodge, GM is like, we're all in.
Yeah, well, I mean, within a few years, they're going to have to be adding on additions, wings
really.
And stuff like that for, they might put some other things there, but it is a glorified house for their trophies.
Effectively what this is their racing division.
Yeah.
They have opened up this, again, $200 million or however $1 million facility in Pontiac, Michigan to say, hey, listen, we're in on racing. We've been in on racing for a long time. here's the proof up on these many, many walls that are surrounding this entire building. And oh, by the way, we're going to build some engines in here too.
Yeah, somewhere in here. It's going to be funny though, because you're going to have the tour guy with the little cute little flag, and and we're going to go down to this wing where they won 300 championships.
Yeah, exactly. Here's our IndyCar wing. Here's our NASCAR wing. Here's our NHRA wing.
And if you notice,
NHRA
this
wing.
door leads to nowhere. That's to the next wing.
Yes, this is our expansion wing. Don't go out that door just yet.
They're always thinking ahead.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's see. Also, for the first time since the season opening Daytona 500, this is kind of good news.
Yeah.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Series going to have a full 40-car field for the race.
Woo! Good job, Skippy.
40 cars have filed to attempt to qualify for this weekend's race in Martinsville. That meant everyone did qualify. Now the question is who gets the best pit stalls. We just found out about that. Joey Logano, Casey Kane with the first two choices on that. Premium Motorsports committed to running this weekend. Drivers Cole Witt and Reed Sorensen. The Motorsports Group entered Josh Wise. Go Fast Racing entered Joey Gase into the STP 500 for Sunday, and that helped fill out that entire field. There's some odd names.
I was looking to see who were the guys that maybe would have missed the cutoff, whatever the case is. We would normally see hitting the cutoff.
Right. Yeah.
And Reed Sorensen didn't turn a lap in qualifying. He didn't waste any of his car.
I'm praying.
I do love the fact
really
that this is a great thing too. They always put up the sponsors, right?
Yes.
Across the board. To be announced.
Oh.
There's several of them in here that are to be announced. Cole Witt.
I hate to say this.
You just brought up Cole Witt.
We may be bringing up some starting Parkers here.
We might be. I'm hoping that's not the case, but when you have to be announced on both of your cars, both of your entries, that kind of says something. But Cole Witt rolling off 31st. So
and if we're in an area where we're this close to the home base, and the 99.9% of the NASCAR teams are based in and around Charlotte, North Carolina. A couple of notable exceptions. Stewart, Virginia is the home of Wood Brothers, which that's even closer to Martinsville for them. And then, of course, we have all talked about Denver and Furniture Row Racing, based in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah.
Everybody else is based around there. It's not that hard for Premium Motorsports to go, you know what, let's grab a couple extra bucks. We're going to make the 40-car field anyway.
Yeah.
And if we happen to start and park this guy, it's not going to be no sweat off our brows. We'll actually probably make a little bit of money because we're not that far from home.
Yeah, that's why they're looking at the fact of you didn't see him during the West Coast swing. That's why we saw what we've seen.
Right.
Because they're not going to waste the time and the effort to go and not potentially get the race.
It's expensive to travel out there and then to stay out there in a lot of cases for 3 straight weeks.
Yeah.
It's not a cheap venture to go and do the Vegas, Phoenix, and California triple header.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people were talking about with the fact that we weren't seeing these 40-car fields. To the fact that, is this bad? No, It's just the fact of these guys got to watch what they're doing with their cash.
And the further away that they're traveling from Charlotte, North Carolina, the less you're going to see of the 40-car filled fields.
Yeah, the less likely you're going to see that.
It's sad, but it's true.
It is sad, but
Then there's the idea about how much money people do make. Forbes magazine has come out with a list of the top money-earning NASCAR Sprint Cup Series operations, and I know, shock among shocks, Hendrick Motorsports sits atop the rankings.
Go figure.
By a fairly large margin.
Go figure again.
Based upon the 2015 earnings of Jeff Gordon, obviously now retired, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson, and Casey Kane, Hendrick Motorsports brought in a grand total of $375 million, compared to Joe Gibbs Racing in second, $256 million. How's that? Stewart Haas Racing was third, tallying $195. What do $195 million? All 3 of those teams have one thing in common. 4 cars under the roof.
That is true.
Then you start looking at these others. Richard Childress Racing, total $175 million. They rounded out the top 5 with Roush Fenway Racing, whose drivers earned $155 million in 2015. Each of those teams have 3 cars out on the track. So the more cars you have out on the track, the better you have it. And if you get almost surefire Hall of Famers like a Dale Jr., a Jimmy Johnson, and a Jeff Gordon, Casey Kane has got a long way to go. But you got 3 out of the 4 guys who are definitely Hall of Famers, and they're as popular as they are, they're as controversial as they can be. You're going to make a lot of money. You go to Joe Gibbs Racing, same situation. You got Carl Edwards is borderline. Matt Kenseth, I think, is borderline. Kyle Busch is going in.
Yeah.
Whether you like him or not, he's going in. This is a guy who's got so many wins across the top 3 divisions you can't see straight.
I only pay attention to the one that he runs for points in.
Denny Hamlin's got a little bit of work to do when it comes to trying to get into the Hall of Fame, but you're talking about 4 high-profile guys who have done a very nice job of claiming wins over the last few years. You go to Stewart-Haas Racing, Tony Stewart, 3-time champion, almost 50 wins. He's guaranteed to get in. Kevin Harvick is certainly making the resume for it. Kurt Busch has a little bit of work to do. Danica Patrick, she could buy a ticket.
Yeah. She could buy a brick.
So, but you look at those 12 drivers.
Yeah.
You're solid on sponsorship. You're solid on finishes for the most part. I mean, Tony Stewart's been up and down, Danica Patrick up and down, Casey Kane up and down. We can pick out certain ones. But over the last 2-3 years, solid sponsorship across all 12 cars, solid finishes among most of those 12 cars. It makes sense that they would be the ones that make the most.
It does, but there's 2 things to point. Well, one thing to really point out if you look at the top 2 teams. Well, you look at Stewart-Haas and you look at Hendrick. You look at the fact that there's 8 cars there. But if you look at the teams, you break them down. You pointed it out. You've got 3 really great drivers, and you got a driver who's kind of flaky. Casey's there's something that needs to happen there. He went from such a great driver, great everything, to going over and kind of being the guy to go into that 5 and do something with it. Just hasn't been able to.
No.
But if you look at it, it's mirrored. It's mirrored over on the Stewart-Haas side of things because you've got 3 awesome drivers and someone who wants to drive, just can't get it done. But you have that Achilles heel on every team.
Just about, yeah.
So they really, truly only have 3 cars.
But if you look at it, and I'll put Joe Gibbs Racing into this, who's the Achilles heel of Joe Gibbs Racing?
I think, and this is...
Because you have to think harder about it. Because
I would say Denny Hamlin. And the only
he would
reason,
be the best. He would be the best candidate for it. I agree, but he's certainly much higher up on the grand scheme of things than a Casey Kane and a Danica Patrick are.
He is, but I guarantee you, if you look at Joe Gibbs Racing, you look at those 3 drivers. Kyle Busch collecting his first NASCAR Sprint Cup Series championship last year. Denny Hamlin's been there. He's had the opportunity to grab it. He hasn't done it.
Yeah.
That's been he's been the Achilles heel only for that reason. He's able to get things done, but he's not able to cash out at the end of the day when it comes to the end of the season. Carl Edwards
has been in that position as well.
He has, but I look at the fact of him moving over to Joe Gibbs Racing. I see him, honestly, grabbing a championship before Denny Hamlin.
That I could see, because he's much more consistent than Denny Hamlin.
And he's more calm, relaxed, and when we go into the chase, we've talked about it right here on the show. The chase is Denny Hamlin's, it's his kryptonite.
Yeah.
He messes himself up mentally.
Of course, it used to be Kyle Busch's until last year.
Well, Denny has had a kid as well. It seems like everybody who has a kid grabs a championship, but Denny has a kid.
All right, well, I guess we'll find out.
I don't know.
So from the teams, we go to the individual drivers, top 3 earners. Shock among shocks. Dale Earnhardt Jr., $23.5 million. Jimmy Johnson, $22.2 million. And Jeff Gordon walks away with $21.6 million in earnings from 2015 alone. Kevin Harvick brought in $15.5 million. Denny Hamlin, $15.1 million to make up the top 5. The magazine has not put a definite value to one, nor have they determined what that value would be, but they estimate, under the new charter system implemented for the season, that the value per charter is somewhere between $15 and $17 million. And we just saw 2 of them change hands. Michael Waltrip Racing selling off their 2, one to Joe Gibbs for Carl Edwards, the other to Stewart-Haas Racing for Kurt Busch. So you assume, give or take, they paid about $16 million.
Yeah.
Ouch.
That's a lot of money for a medallion.
Yeah, it really is. 4-time champion Jeff Gordon, of course, now in the Fox broadcasting booth for NASCAR races, took a little bit of time this past week to head up to Michigan and was part of the partnership agreement with one of his old sponsors. He was on hand as Exalta Coating Systems, Hendrick Motorsports, and the University of Michigan declared a 5-year partnership that allows students at the school's Team Project Center to be able to get some experience in the world of racing, along with doing research which involves Exalta's specialty, coatings or paint jobs. The partnership is going to officially kick off in August. That'll coincide with the second visit to Michigan International Raceway for the Cup Series. That race, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who has inherited the Axalta sponsorship from the 24, is going to drive a Michigan Wolverines paint scheme. Kind of some cool stuff there.
Yeah.
This is stuff that we have seen many times. The aforementioned, now defunct Michael Waltrip Racing, when we were doing national championships, and Alabama kept claiming the state, in this case, national championships, 4 of them in a row. Michael Waltrip would run either the Alabama Crimson Tide or the Auburn Tigers on his hood. And then, of course, him being born in Kentucky, they went to Kentucky Speedway a couple of years ago after the Wildcats won the NCAA championship. We've seen this before. It's kind of some cool stuff. It adds a little bit extra to it, and it gives Axalta a chance to show off their ability to create these nice new coatings.
Yeah, and they've done such a great job, except for the ketchup and mustard of Dale Earnhardt Jr. That car,
not pretty.
yeah, not pretty.
But then again, Dale Earnhardt Jr. doing something really, really cool. He's decided he's going to donate his brain for concussion research. Now, not now. Kind of needs it now. But whenever he passes on from this world, Earnhardt says that he plans to ensure that his brain, after he passes away, is sent to the top concussion researchers in the country. He's no stranger to some hard crashes. He actually missed 2 events back in October of 2012 because of that false Talladega race, got into a really bad crash and suffered a concussion, and the doctors would not clear him to come back. So he said, you know what? Let's see. It's mostly been football players that have been donating their brains. Now we're going to see how racing has affected it and see if there are similarities, and if there aren't, what are the differences between us and what the NFL players are dealing with.
I got to think the only difference, and this is my non-medical opinion, would be the fact that football players are getting hit every single play throughout the game. Well, most of them,
right,
are getting hit every single play.
Yeah.
You look at the NASCAR guys, those wrecks, one wreck, let's look at the Talladega wreck for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Sure.
That is probably the equivalent of 5 or 6 football games for a football player, just as the speeds.
I could see that, yeah.
And the Gs and
the
everything
G-forces,
else.
which we're going to get to when we talk about Formula One coming up in a little bit as well. So remember this conversation. But yeah, the G-forces that are affected, because you look at it, and a lot of people say what you will about Darrell Waltrip and his, pull your straps down, try tight one more time, which was actually Larry McReynolds, and then we go into the boogity, let's go racing boys. Say what you want about that, but it's interesting to note when you think about that, when they're talking about pulling those straps down tight one more time and how much padding there is around them. Effectively, you can't turn your head, because once you're in that seat with the Hans device on, it keeps you from moving your helmet forward, your head forward that much. And because of that, you're effectively locked into this little cocoon, which is good. You're not going to be rattling around, so to speak, inside the car, but it can also be bad because you still have the forces on the inside of your body, the organs, where your head in and of itself physically is not moving, but your brain inside of it is. And if you're going to do a 190 plus mile per hour run and then you're going to crash, even if you don't necessarily stop, but you certainly eliminate 90+% of the momentum of the car. And that has to have an effect on your head.
It does. And the best way you could actually think about it, and a lot of people have issues trying to think about that fact. They look at the fact that, the head's locked in, everything else, but they don't think about what's going on the inside.
Right.
You take a water balloon, a clear water balloon, and you stick something inside that water balloon. So you have something that would be the human brain.
Sure.
You fill it with water. So now, just like inside of our skulls, we've got our brain, which is water surrounded everything else. But even if you just shove that thing forward, but keep it locked up, and you still
whatever's
got the thrust.
inside that balloon just moves all around.
It's gonna hit the front.
Yeah.
And you look back at Daytona this year when he was Amelia, Dale Earnhardt Jr. had a pretty nasty head on into the inside safer barrier out there at Daytona.
Yeah.
It's not what is 9 times out of 10. It's not what's on the outside that looks the worst. You got to think about what's on the inside.
Exactly.
So I think this is a great thing for him. I think they're going to learn a lot when it comes to analyzing his brain to see what that effect has. It's really cool that he's going to do that.
Yeah. I think it is too. To actual kind of off-the-track, more racing-oriented things like BK Racing. They've announced they're going to enter a third car in some select races in the remainder of the 2016 Spring Cup Series season. And for a number of those races, they're going to put a kid by the name of Ryan Ellis behind the wheel. Ryan Ellis is somebody that a lot of people are probably going to go, who? Well, Ryan Ellis is actually a part-time runner in both the Camping World and the Xfinity series over the past few seasons, so he hasn't been able to actually run for points in any of those. He is now set to run multiple races in the number 93 Toyota Camry this year. The first one will be the April 24th race at Richmond International Raceway, and a company by the name of Science Logic is on the hood for a sponsor.
If you've been out to Talladega Superspeedway and you've watched the truck race, you've seen him out there. He's running.
Yes.
He's the one that runs in that red and white FDNY truck.
Yeah.
That's Ryan Ellis. So if you've ever been out to Talladega Superspeedway for the trucks, you've seen them running, there's your boy Ryan Ellis right there.
And he's just a guy, he keeps trying to break in, he keeps trying to get that full-time ride. Now he's got a position where he can really prove himself.
Yes.
But because of that lack of experience, I'm afraid that he may end up finding himself swamped.
He's going to find himself swamped, but that's what we got to find out nowadays. We got to see how these guys are also going to handle that.
That's true.
As well.
Yeah.
Chase Elliott doing a great job.
Yeah.
You know, doing a lot better than I really thought. A lot of people have, there's a lot of pressure on him right now.
There is.
But, that's what it takes. But swamped, yes.
Yeah,
definitely
I'm
for
afraid
sure.
so in this case. Romain Grosjean, I know we're not talking Formula One just yet, but he is thinking ahead, and he thinks he might be interested in trying his hand at NASCAR racing with a caveat. Grosjean signed this offseason, obviously, to be the first driver for the fledgling Haas F1 team, the first American-based team in like 30 years. And during the time, he spent some time in North Carolina making the employment with the new team official, doing some sightseeing, took some time to go through the Stewart Haas NASCAR racing shop. He sat in one of the stock cars in the shop. We don't know which driver it was. It doesn't matter. He took some time, sat down in there, and after he got out, told media that he'd like to test a Sprint Cup car on a track and see. But he cautioned that if he were to run a race, it would have to be a road course. He eliminated all the ovals as, quote, too much of a specialty, adding, quote, not an oval, never. We've seen this before. We're actually seeing it in IndyCar right now. Ed Carpenter, for example. He will run ovals, but he doesn't run street courses. Mike Conway was the exact opposite. He would run the road and the street courses, but not the ovals. So we get those guys who are specialty guys. Romain Grosjean, to the best of my knowledge, I could be wrong, but to the best of my knowledge, he may never have run an oval course in his entire racing career.
It's very possible. He's probably just grown up and practiced and learned on the street courses. They've got a street course. Well, they've got a road course down there. That's where Stewart Haas goes to test for, Watkins Glen and Sonoma and all. Is the fact that I forget what I think it's Virginia. It's in Virginia.
International Raceway, VIR.
Yeah, VIR. They go out there and test. So that'd be a great chance for them to go out, just throw them in a car and see what happens. You never know. Be something different.
Well, and the other thing to think about it is this. We do have the two every year, Sonoma and Watkins Glen.
Yeah.
We see road course ringers rather often.
Yes.
I see this as a fairly distinct possibility if the schedules happen to work out. You send them out to Sonoma. We'd mentioned the 40-car field's not going on the West Coast. Here's your chance maybe to throw him into a car, fill out the 40-car field, and give him a chance if he has the opportunity to test and can work it into the F1 schedule.
And make sure it's not Sprint Cup Series.
I think that may be the only way he chooses to do it.
Road America, Xfinity?
Maybe. I think the better opportunity, though, would be in Sprint Cup only because of that 40-car field going all the way out to the West Coast.
That's true.
Just saying. When we come back, we'll talk about a little bit more Xfinity, Camping World Truck Series, and, of course, all the open wheel stuff, NHRA. Trust us, we got a long way to go.
Oh, yes.
We're just underway in the fastest hour in radio.
You're listening to the fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
For months now, Fastest Hour listeners have been turning to Wild Vapors in Sylacauga to provide all their vaping needs. If you haven't yet dropped cigarettes or been to Wild Vapors, you are missing out on the WYDE Preferred Vape Store. You have been wanting to quit smoking for a while now, but haven't found the tool that will get you to the victory once and for all. Wild Vapors has your solution to cigarette addiction. There is a healthier alternative to smoking that can break the routine and help you beat cigarettes once and for all. In fact, over 8% of smokers nationwide have ditched cigarettes for vaping. And now it's time for you. Join the thousands of Americans that have already found the joy of being smoke-free with vaping. The owners at Wild Vapors mix a signature formula for their own brand in an off-site clean room facility, using only the highest quality USP ingredients and leaving out all the artificial sweeteners and other unwanted chemicals. Make your next pit stop at Wild Vapors today in the Sylacauga Walmart Shopping Center or their Alexander City location. Call 256-369-2569. Stay on track with Wild Vapors.
Hello, this is Jay Schiller, 2015 track champion, Talladega Short Track. You are listening to the fastest hour on radio, 101.1 WYDE.
4 new tires and a tank of gas. And we're back to the fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
Hey, welcome back in. Second of 3 segments for today's fastest hour in radio. Thank you very much for joining us, and you can join us at 941-1011, toll free at 866-551-9933. Understand we may be getting a guest coming up here in about 30 minutes.
That is definitely as of last night.
As of last night.
Talked to our good friend Mark Pons over there with Skinner Motorsports.
Yeah.
He's the PR guy for Cruise Skinner.
Okay.
We've had him on the show twice.
Sure.
He's going to be giving us a call around 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Going to be talking to us a little bit about last week, what he's got going on this weekend. And
I know he was up at Boyd Speedway.
He was up at Boyd Speedway. There's a possibility, depending upon the weather. I don't know if they're going to do it, but Mark was talking about they might be running at Talladega tonight because today is opening day at the short track, Talladega Short Track. The Hornets Nest firing up the night.
Wonder if we're going to hear from late model Mark. Hint.
You know what? Did you get a chance to see that online this week? They were posting up the pictures. The foundation and the new tower were being put up.
Nice.
Yes.
So it might not be ready for tonight, but it's going to be ready soon.
If it's ready for tonight, those guys worked.
They worked
24
hard.
hours a day for days in a row.
But that's okay. It'll be ready by the end of this year, and not too long from now, within the next couple of months, and that's a good thing for Talladega Short Track. Okay, and hopefully, like I said, we get the chance to talk to late model Mark shortly. All right. We talk about rising stars fairly often, and sometimes you can kind of think that you tab one person and you go, that kid's going to make it. And then suddenly all the promise in the world kind of fritters off.
Well, we've seen that with Jeb Burton.
Yes.
On the fact of not his fault, just sponsorship and stuff like that.
Probably one of the more notable ones for me, J.J. Yaley.
Yeah.
Came in with everybody thinking about him following in the footsteps of a Tony Stewart. Joe Gibbs Racing signed him on because he was only the second guy to win the USAC Triple Crown.
Right.
Tony Stewart being the first one. He comes into NASCAR, and he just can't do it the way that they were hoping that he could.
Well, in his defense, I will say this much, is the fact that he really hasn't had the best equipment lately.
Except for the Joe Gibbs Racing.
For the Joe Gibbs Racing. Yeah. That's been about it. After that, it's kind of been downhill.
But you and I have talked about one particular guy in NASCAR that seems to have an eye for talent, and that's Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yes.
And if we are to believe that, then Cole Custer might actually be that next big rising star, because a regular driver running for points in the Camping World Truck Series, Custer is actually set to make his Xfinity Series debut later on this year. He'll run the number 5 Chevy Camaro for Junior Motorsports. The 18-year-old set to run at Richmond in late April. He'll jump in the number 88 Camaro for Charlotte in May, in Kentucky in July, and then he'll be back into the number 5 for the fall Charlotte race and the Xfinity season finale at Homestead, Miami. So he's got a good opportunity to be able to prove himself and maybe get himself a solid ride up in the next segment. And he has got himself some pretty good sponsorship. He's going to feature his Truck Series sponsor, which is Haas Automation, for 4 of those events. Cessna, a regular Casey Kane sponsor, going to run on the hood with Custer at Kentucky.
Custer to Earnhardt Jr. is Eric Jones to Kyle Busch.
Seems that way.
It seems that way. I mean, we talk about Dale Earnhardt Jr., you just said a few moments ago, got a great eye for talent. Kyle Busch does too.
Yeah.
So it's going to be that dueling banjo type-esque thing there with Cole Custer and Eric Jones.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if Custer can actually live up to the expectations of a Dale Jr.
I don't put a lot on him initially.
And I don't think they'll put a whole lot of pressure on him initially.
I would hope not, because that seems to be the breaking point, especially nowadays. You put way too much on them, and they just fizzle.
They'll fold.
But if you just kind of give them a chance and let them grow a little bit. But we've seen Cole Custer handle, he's been able to adapt. Mm-hmm. He's done well at Martinsville in the Truck Series for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Sure.
And I think he's gonna be a good kid, It's going to be nice to see him running in the Xfinity.
Yeah, I think so. Next weekend, Xfinity Series is going to Texas Motor Speedway, and when they go there, one of the cars in particular, the one driven by Brandon Jones, is going to have the markings of the beginning of another sports season, Major League Baseball. We've seen this before. All-Star Game, go back to 2001, Dale Earnhardt Jr. running at Daytona had the All-Star Game paint scheme.
Yeah.
And won it. And, everyone was sitting there crying because it was the first race at Daytona since Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s death, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. grabs the win, that famed one.
Yes.
Well, Jones is going to run the number 33 Chevrolet Camaro. It will sport the colors of the Texas Rangers, who play in nearby Arlington, Texas. I've seen the car. It's actually a pretty sharp-looking car. It makes sense.
It does.
I mean, we get a Boston Red Sox paint scheme if you go to New Hampshire. I don't know who you would do in Charlotte because there's no baseball team in Charlotte.
I would love to see, of course, I'm an Orioles fan, Baltimore Orioles, of course, and an Atlanta Braves fan. I would love to see.
Pocono.
I would love to see an Orioles paint scheme, but black and orange.
But
Man,
the thing about
that'd
it
be
is,
wild.
at Pocono, you would almost expect if you're going to get one person to drive an Orioles paint scheme, somebody'd have to do a Phillies and another person would have to do a Pirates paint scheme.
Well, who wants to drive a Phillies car?
Not me, but I'm just thinking just geographically.
As everybody knows, I hate everything at Philly.
Talladega Superspeedway, where we're going to be in about a month from right now, has announced a title sponsorship with an Alabama-based company for the upcoming Xfinity Series race. They're going to be the title sponsor. It's Decatur, Alabama's Sparks Energy Incorporated. They're going to be the company on the headline. It is now the Sparks Energy 300. Sparks Energy has, since 2007, provided services along high-voltage power lines and industrial systems around the United States. They've also had a lot of their employees go out in severe weather situations and help get power restored. So good
Cool.
company and really cool to see them.
Cool.
Don't know how long that deal is, whether it's 1 year or multi-year deal. None of that information was given out, but it's good to have them on board.
Heck yeah.
Thoughts and prayers from everyone here at the Fastest Hour in Radio going out to the family and friends of Chip Ganassi Racing Xfinity Series car chief Ryan Shea. Shea passed away last Wednesday night. Shea worked for Ganassi's Xfinity Series operations on the number 42 car. Reports have him passing away at his home in Troutman, North Carolina at the young age of 34. A good friend of Shea's, Rodney Childers, crew chief of Kevin Harvick's Sprint Cup Series ride, put out a tweet stating Shea passed away in his sleep. He's been pretty much a NASCAR lifer, began his career in the sport in 2001. Think about this. This is 2016. He was 34. Do the math. He's been in it pretty much ever since he got out of high school.
Yeah, that's been a while.
Started working for BAM Racing, remember them. Moved up to car chief with Michael Waltrip Racing in 2007, stayed with the organization until it folded at the end of the 2015 season, then latched on with Ganassi shortly after he was officially released from Michael Waltrip Racing. It's not known if there's going to be an autopsy, and at this time, the cause of death has not been released, but we do send our thoughts and prayers out to the friends and family of Ryan Shea, definitely.
Most definitely, most definitely.
There was supposed to be, let me repeat that, there was supposed to be a new team running this weekend in the Camping World Truck Series at Martinsville. A company called Faith Motorsports. They were set to enter the number 62 Toyota Tundra into this weekend's activities, and they were going to put the team's owner, specifically co-owner, Donnie LaVister, behind the wheel with sponsorship from a Kansas-based company called Property Pros, which is owned and operated by Faith Sports' other co-owner, Shane Lamb. However, on their Facebook page, they stated they had trouble in initial inspection on the weekend, and it forced the team to withdraw. They didn't state what the trouble was. Team posted the withdrawal again on their Facebook page. Don't know what the trouble was, but promised they were going to be prepared for their next race. They just didn't state when they were planning to attempt to qualify again. Meanwhile, there are going to be quite a few other people to be noted. A youth infusion, so to speak.
Yes.
Big time. Several young drivers getting a chance to drive. Lilly Trucking is got the number 1 Chevrolet Silverado. They've got a 16-year-old kid by the name of Bryce Napier going to drive that vehicle. The 17-year-old Kaz Gralla is going to be behind the wheel of the GMS Racing number 33 Chevrolet Silverado. This is interesting to note because he takes over for Alabama native Grant Enfinger. Enfinger has decided to become a part-time driver for the organization, seemingly out of the blue. I can't find any more information on that. I have no idea why in the world Grant decided not to do full-time.
We need to reach out to Grant.
We really do.
Yes.
Because it would be interesting to find out. And then there's this one more interesting note about the potential of 3 other drivers.
I like this.
For this weekend.
This I like.
All of them are related.
Yeah.
And all of them are female.
Yes.
Set to make her debut in the Camping World Truck Series is a young girl by the name of Natalie Decker. She's slated to drive the number 14 NTS Motorsports Chevrolet Silverado. She came to NTS's attention as part of the Kulwicki Driver Development Program. Now, I say this with all due respect to the other 2 Deckers and to the other 2 organizations we're going to mention, but Natalie has the best chance of doing something here in this race. And here's why. Two of her cousins are attempting to make the race. Claire Decker, going to drive the number 10 Chevrolet Silverado for Jennifer Jo Cobb Racing. Claire is a 21-year-old criminal psych major at the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, but she does have racing experience. She's running the super late model ARCA Midwest Series, winning a few races, I should say. In fact, she won the Trickle 99, which is a race that is done in honor of the late Dick Trickle. So congratulations to her on that. She might actually have some racing chops, but the Jennifer Jo Cobb Racing entry has not proven to be one of the better entries in the Camping World Truck Series in its history.
Hypothetically speaking here.
Okay, go for it.
What happens if she gets in there and does better than Jennifer?
I think Jennifer would at that point in time have to realize something. I might need to become owner and let this girl drive.
Bingo.
And then there's the third Decker cousin. This is Paige.
Yes.
Paige has been tabbed by a Alabama native, Mike Harmon, and Mike Harmon Racing to pilot the number 74 Ram pickup. This marks her third race at Martinsville Speedway. She ran 30th there last fall in the Camping World Truck Series, so she has experience there. And again, I mean this with all due respect to the guy who I know from the old Birmingham International Raceway, may it rest in rubble. Mike Harmon is a good guy, but this has not been even a mid-tier team.
No, it has
in
not.
the Camping World Truck Series.
Extremely low-tier team. But I've actually been following this week. I was actually kind of happy we were going to talk about it because I've been. You can follow Jennifer Jo Cobb on Facebook.
Sure. And I think I do, actually.
And they showed up a picture, and I'm like, who are these three girls? And then I'm sitting there, and I'm reading. I'm like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And then to find out they're all related, I'm like, man, it's definitely going to be a family get-together at Martinsville.
If there is one sport in this country that is all about family, it is NASCAR.
Well, you look at most of these drivers have grown up. I mean, we talked about him a little while ago. Chase Elliott, sitting in the lap of Dale Earnhardt Sr.
Yeah.
You know, that was his godfather.
And obviously the son of Bill Elliott.
Yeah, son of Bill Elliott. Then you got Dale Jr. You see all the pictures of him up on top of the trailers and stuff, watching all the races. All these guys grew up.
Yep. Daryl Michael Waltrip. They're vastly different in ages. There's probably 15 years, give or take, in an age difference between them, but they are brothers, and Michael was certainly more than able to follow Daryl. Then you got the Allison brothers, and then Davey, Bobby's son. It's a family thing. The Pettys are, of course, well, I don't think we need to say any more once we say the name Petty. It's a family thing, and racing gets into the family blood, and they just love it, and they go out and do this. And I guess I don't have a whole lot of information on the Deckers, so I'm going to say this first and foremost. Without knowing it, I would assume that these three girls pretty much grew up together to come in and have this kind of all three of them having the same interests.
Now, I am hoping that, you know, in today's race out there at Martinsville for the Truck Series, I'm hoping we get, you know, I'm going to watch this race. I love the Truck Series race, especially at Martinsville.
Sure.
But I'm hoping we get a chance to kind of follow along with some of these, you know, these not well-known drivers as well. I mean, I know we're going to have some great action and everything else, but it's going to be nice to kind of see if they follow along with that, you know, along with the scheme of things.
Yeah, well, we're going to get back to how much of that we're going to be able to follow in a moment. But first, a part-time Xfinity and Camping World Truck Series driver is being implicated in a smuggling operation by Canadian authorities. 45-year-old Derek White is being called the third in command of an operation that has been looked into by police north of the border. Press release about the arrest does not mention White's occupation. However, the picture that was included, the birth date listed, and the hometown named all equal one Derek White, who has one Xfinity Series start this season, along with a failed qualifying attempt for this year's Daytona 500. Authorities targeted some 60 people in what they're terming, quote, the biggest tobacco smuggling bust in North American history. They made arrests along with help from U.S. Homeland Security and the U.S. DEA. According to the investigation, the group had made more than 150 shipments from about August of 2014 through March of this year, shipping almost 2,300 tons of tobacco from the United States into Canada illegally. In addition to the bust, authorities seized more than $10 million worth of illegal tobacco, $3 million in cash, both of those are in U.S. dollars, along with $1.5 million in Canadian money, 800 kilos of cocaine.
Well, let's top that off.
21 kilos of methamphetamine, and 35 pounds of cannabis. NASCAR has yet to comment because they're in Daytona and Charlotte going, huh?
They're trying to figure out what just happened.
I mean, good gosh almighty.
My dad posted this story to my my Facebook page, and I was like, yep, we'll be talking about that this weekend.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I understand the biggest tobacco smuggling bust in North American history. I get that. You know, you're sending it across illegally. There are taxes and tariffs and all that kind of stuff to be paid and all that kind of stuff. I get that.
Yeah.
And 2,300 tons is a significant amount of tobacco.
Just a touch.
But then you throw out that much cash, and on top of that, you decide to throw out 800 keys of cocaine, 21 keys of meth, and 35 pounds of cannabis. What the heck are you thinking?
They were going to party above the border.
That is a party I don't want to be at.
Exactly. I'll sit home with my iced tea.
People strung out on coke and meth.
Running the border.
Good gosh.
Talk about weight control.
Throwing money around.
Yeah, really.
I mean, for Derek White. Hey, moron. You know, this is the stupidest. I mean, what possesses someone to get involved in something like this?
I've never understood
I really
that.
don't. I mean, you can break the law all you want. Break the law. You're gonna get caught. It's gonna catch up with you.
Sooner or later, you're gonna make a mistake, or somebody's gonna rat you out. Something's gonna happen, and you're gonna get busted.
And then you're gonna be in front of the judge. You're gonna be crying. I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Bull crap.
Yeah, back when I was doing news here on this radio station Monday through Friday, it never seemed to fail. At least once a week, I would get news of some fairly sizable drug bust somewhere in our listening area. Generally, it was meth, and you flaming morons out there who are cooking up meth thinking, oh, yeah, I'm going to get away with it. I'm sorry. You're probably not.
Meth is the biggest issue in this country. All over the place.
I can somewhat understand the attraction to, say, a marijuana. It's a natural product. It's like tobacco. It's a natural product, okay? And what it does to you when you're smoking it and all that kind of stuff, here's the thing. Methamphetamine is made by things like antifreeze.
Yeah.
You're ingesting automobile antifreeze or Drano. How much of a moron do you have to be to ingest something that was not meant to be ingested so you can get some sort of stupid artificial high?
Hey, there's a bunch of them out there because it's one of those take a number. You know, like the things you walk up to the meat counter and you take a number. They're lining up for the crap.
You people baffle me. I don't understand it. But one thing I do understand is quitting smoking. I was able to lay down cigarettes back in quite a while ago. I think it would have been easier if I had the opportunity to do what you have helped. What's helped you lay down cigarettes?
The only thing that's helped me, and there's a lot of people out there that are just like me, you know, they've tried all the different types of things. They've tried the patches, they've tried the pills, they've tried this, they've tried that, they've tried lollipops, whatever, and it just doesn't work.
Right.
The solution, we've found the solution. The solution is right here in our great state of Alabama. It's in Sylacauga and Alexander City. That's right. Our good friends Shelly and Eddie down at Wild Vapors in the Sylacauga Walmart Shopping Center in Alexander City, just around the corner from Central Alabama Community College.
Now, for those of you that we know you live up in Huntsville, Decatur, Athens, Madison, Florence, Muscle Shoals, Fort Payne, Jasper, Coleman, Gadsden, Anniston, we understand. Sylacauga is a bit of a drive for you. Here's the deal. They can help you out anyway.
That's right. All you have to do is simply give them a call, 256-369-2569. Let them know what you're doing. They can talk to you over the phone. They can get all the information of finding that tailored plan that's going to help you continue to go down the path of quitting smoking. You want to do it? Give them a call. They're going to find the solution for you. They're going to get you the great juices that are not going to have all that extra stuff in them like sucralose and diacetyl and aspartame. All of that is not in their juices. Eddie and Shelly are very staunch against those types of things, and they want to make sure that everybody knows you don't want to get rid of one bad thing and go to another. That's why you need to vape, and when you vape, you only want to vape with Wild Vapors in Sylacauga.
All right. We appreciate them, by the way, big time. One more note in NASCAR, and for those of you who are like us, sick of the moonlighting being done by the Sprint Cup Series drivers in series that they don't run for points in.
All I do is click the TV button.
Yeah. Strap in. The worst violator in moonlighting history has released plans to run in the Camping World Truck Series this year. Kyle Busch has said he's going to run 4 races in the series this season, beginning with today's Martinsville event.
Oh.
Yeah.
Never mind, I'm not watching the race.
Also planning on running at Charlotte next month, Kentucky Speedway in July, and at Bristol in August. Each one of those he will have Toyota as the primary sponsor. He is doubling his efforts this weekend at Martinsville, one of the few tracks he has yet to claim a win on in any of NASCAR's top series. You think about this now. He is the all-time record holder in the Xfinity Series for race wins. He's got almost 80 now. He's got some 30 some odd Camping World Truck Series wins. He's got give or take 20-ish Sprint Cup Series wins, something like that.
Something like that.
Out of all those wins, he's never won at Martinsville.
Well, I would love to just kind of reach out and say this. Whoever is the driver that takes them out of today's race at Martinsville Speedway, I would love to talk to you next week. Just putting that out there.
I'm putting
no bounty?
Yeah, really. Yeah. We can't do that. That's illegal.
Yeah,
I know.
Roger Goodell, despite the fact that we have no affiliation with the NFL, is going to ding us for something.
I'm going to run for Canada now.
Exactly. But here's the thing. I might actually go ahead and watch the Martinsville race because now we've come up with the drama subplot of how can we figure out a way to make sure that Kyle Busch doesn't win today?
Well, we do have that wonderful world of Twitter.
Yes, we do.
We can get in touch with somebody. Hey, it's a little hot in there. Why don't you itch that arm?
Yeah, really. Well, you think about it. Some of the young kids that we were just talking about, and I'm not hoping for bad things for the Decker cousins, but you got Bryce Napier, 16 years old, Kaz Grala, and the 17-year-old.
It's not going to be them.
As Kyle kind of comes around and maybe tries to lap one of them, just kind of
it's not
turn, Clyde,
and it's not going to be their fault. You know whose fault it's going to be?
Whose fault will it be?
It's going to be Kyle's fault. Do you want to know why?
Please, enlighten us.
Because he is going to be impatient.
As he always is.
Especially when he looks down at these other series. I'm starting to really think that he looks down at those other series as if you are beneath me.
Well, and the unfortunate thing is that he's been able to back it up on the track.
He has, and that just takes so much away. That's why we hate the Moonlighter situation.
Yeah.
But, the truck race at Martinsville is an awesome race. Yeah, I don't like when Kevin Harvick's in it. I don't like when Kyle Busch is in it. I want to see these guys. I want to see the next group that's coming up.
Yeah.
I'm tired of seeing this stuff, and everybody is, so I don't know why you want to continue to infuriate people.
But they're going to anyway.
Regardless.
Over to the Verizon IndyCar Series. Charlie Kimball going to continue to be sponsored by Novo Nordisk, but this year is going to mark his 8th consecutive year, actually, to be sponsored by the company. They're choosing this season to highlight one of their other products. It's called Tresiba, and I hope I got that right. This is Novo Nordisk's new once-daily long-acting basal insulin medication for diabetics, something that is close to both of us. My mother, who passed away almost a month ago now, she was diabetic. Your significant other also is. Mm-hmm. Kimball is now 31. He was diagnosed as a diabetic back in 2007, and it initially worried Kimball that it would end his racing career, but Nordisk has been working with Kimball, Chip Ganassi Racing, in the Verizon IndyCar Series, and they worked up a solution that allows him to race. It's a really, really cool way of them being able to do that and to kind of medically monitor him, and the Verizon IndyCar Series doctors do it as well, and he has a system in the car itself to where if he needs a shot of insulin, he can give it to himself while racing.
Well, they've got a special wheel for him, first off, and the wheel, he can check his sugar and everything like that. The team can monitor, they can find out what's going on with him. They've got somebody that's set aside to check that stuff and can give him a shot when he needs to, or if he needs to drink something, they've got something there as well, like juices and things of that nature that can boost the sugar.
It fascinates me, the medical advancements that we've been able to make. Used to be if you had a torn ACL, MCL, whatever it was, your career in football, basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever it was, you were done.
Yeah.
You never played again. Now you can be back on your field or court within a year.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? You look at something like this. Diabetes used to be, you're done. You don't get the chance to go and do something like racing or high-end professional athletics. Nowadays, medical advancements have gotten to the point where, go ahead.
Whatever type of disability or whatever type of thing you have, they're working on solutions. Sure. They can live normal lives. Although we all want to see diseases like diabetes go away. It'd be great for the cure to come. But it's great to see guys like this, and he's grabbed a win.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
He's my guy. I like him.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
I can't help but root for him.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that you're pulling for him somewhere, even if you don't think you are.
By the way, he has qualified inside the top 10 for tonight's race at Phoenix.
That's my pick.
And I think about another guy like an Alex Zanardi, who is a former IndyCar driver, got into a wreck and ended up having to amputate both legs. Well, guess what? Advancements have been made in so many different things that they can actually put him in a race car and allow him to race using only his hand controls for braking, shifting, steering, acceleration, everything.
Well, I mean,
there's such cool stuff.
You look at the kids, coming up today. PlayStation, Xbox. Everything's on the controller.
Yeah.
And they've basically taken that technology and they've put it into a steering wheel.
They've done
so
a
that
nice
way
job
these
with it. They really have.
Yeah, they've done awesome with
cool.
it.
So cool. Andretti Autosports is talking about Graham Rahal getting a new sponsorship boost this week. Marco Andretti's number 27 going to feature United Fiber and Data. I saw the car yesterday. I caught the very end of qualifying at Phoenix. It's a very bright colored car in the sunshine. It's very white with a very light blue lettering.
Yeah, it is.
It's very, very, very bright.
You can find that car anywhere.
Yes, indeed. It's not a full year sponsorship, though. The company's also going to be on the car for Long Beach, Pocono, and Boston later this year. And the main reason why is because they're already an associate sponsor for one of Andretti's teammates, Ryan Hunter-Ray. That is a full-time sponsorship, so this is just a little extra help over on that side. Officials with Phoenix International Raceway apparently would like to have the Verizon IndyCar Series become an annual tradition, and they're taking steps to make that happen. One of those steps was to officially name the winning trophy after an IndyCar legend. The track has a special trophy designed specifically for the event tonight. It has been named the A.J. Foyt Champions Trophy. The legend, one of only 3 men to win 4 Indy 500s. He's the all-time wins leader in the IndyCar Series. He was on hand for the official naming and said this, and this just proves how snarky A.J. Foyt can be, and I love it. Quote, "It's an honor to have the trophy named after me. I wish I was younger and able to go out with these guys and compete for it, but I'm not."
I love that. That's the quote of the year right there.
All right. You and I, we've been doing this, and our other job, our other home away from home, so to speak, is Talladega Superspeedway.
Yes.
We would love, and we're sit right next door to the MRN booth. We can see the what is now NBC booth on the other end of the tower, right underneath the Fox Sports booth.
Yes.
You want to talk about the dream job, whether it's MRN or television, I think you and I would jump at either one of them.
Oh, either way. We're good.
Rick Allen is living his dream, tabbed to be the lead announcer for the next 3 Verizon IndyCar Series events this weekend at Phoenix, followed by Long Beach, and then in our own backyard, Barber Motorsports Park at the end of this month. Allen probably likely better known to NBC Sports viewers as the lead announcer for that network's NASCAR coverage, but he's going to be taking over for Lee Diffie because Diffie is the lead announcer for the Formula One races and the Olympic rowing trials, a combination of which is going to take place on the same weekends as those 3 IndyCar events. Allen calls the chance to announce an IndyCar a dream come true, said, quote, "The first race that I ever traveled to was the Indianapolis 500 back when I was probably 11. It was incredible." Following his own sports career, which ended after lettering 4 straight years at the University of Nebraska in track and field, he started to work for the university as their football PA announcer, started calling races at nearby Eagle Speedway, a 3rd-mile track. That's where Fox Sports noted him, hired him to work for the Speed Network, keeping him when the network transitioned to Fox Sports 1, and then when ABC ESPN lost NASCAR to NBC last year, transferred over to them. So there's hope for us.
Oh, there always is. Somebody's going to hear it, and somebody's going to go, those are the guys we need, right there.
That's right. Formula One, NHRA, Formula E. We got to get to all that here in the next 30 minutes, and we're going to do it, but we got to take this break first.
Yep.
WIDE-FM Coleman, WDJC HD3 Birmingham. This is Superstation 101.
For months now, Fastest Hour listeners have been turning to Wild Vapors in Sylacauga to provide all their vaping needs. If you haven't yet dropped cigarettes or been to Wild Vapors, you are missing out on the WYDE Preferred Vape Store. You have been wanting to quit smoking for a while now, but haven't found the tool that will get you to the victory once and for all. Wild Vapors has your solution to cigarette addiction. There is a healthier alternative to smoking that can break the routine and help you beat cigarettes once and for all. In fact, over 8% of smokers nationwide have ditched cigarettes for vaping. And now it's time for you. Join the thousands of Americans that have already found the joy of being smoke-free with vaping. The owners at Wild Vapors mix a signature formula for their own brand in an off-site clean room facility, using only the highest quality USP ingredients and leaving out all the artificial sweeteners and other unwanted chemicals. Make your next pit stop at Wild Vapors today in the Sylacauga Walmart Shopping Center or their Alexander City location. Call 256-369-2569. Stay on track with Wild Vapors.
The only show that covers NASCAR, IndyCar, and Formula One. The fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
messing Dustin up.
Yeah, no, y'all do this to me sometimes.
I do it on purpose.
I was like, oh, it's playing again.
No, it's not. We're just playing the song again. Hey there. By the way, for those of you that were listening through the break, you heard Joey Jatina there.
Yes.
We were thinking he was going to be calling in and giving us some great news. He did get some great news. He's going to be running out at Talladega Superspeedway coming up a little bit later on in, 1 month from now. Mm-hmm. He was going to tell us all about it and then went on a cruise.
Yeah. Thanks for the invite, Joey.
Time to celebrate.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
No, I saw.
We hope to have him in studio or at least call in sometime in the next couple of shows.
That's what I told him. I said, hey, come on in whenever you want, man. We extended the invite. Come on up, buddy.
Yep, exactly.
Tell us about the cruise and rub it in our face.
Speaking of calling in, Mark Pons and Cruz Skinner. Maybe. We'll see. In the meantime, let's get into other news and activities. Bernie Ecclestone, as we move over to Formula One, telling media that the price for the sale of Formula One has been agreed upon. Oh, really? Two parties that he did not identify had said that they are interested in purchasing at least the controlling interest in the sport, pending the current ownership's interest in selling. That's CVC Capital, which currently owns a controlling 35% stake in Formula One. But speculation recently has swirled around a couple of different possible buyers. One of those is Stephen Ross. Ross also owns the NFL franchise Miami Dolphins. Reports have Ross working with the Qatar Sports Investment Group. They're working up a $7.8 billion bid. Also, word has a group out of China. Hey, I'm shocked they're interested in making a bid as well. Ecclestone, who is the series' commercial rights holder, is stating that now talks are on with multiple parties and lists the status as in advanced stages, quote unquote. On the other hand, he doesn't know what the interest in selling might be on the part of CVC. He tells the newspaper, the London Daily Mail, in a report published last Sunday, quote, I think CVC will make a decision on the sale sooner or later. Really? Way to lock that down there, Bernie. There are a couple of people who want to buy. Actually, two of the people have agreed to the price. It's just a question of whether CVC wants to sell or not. So we'll keep updated on that.
Hey, you sell enough Dan Marino jerseys, you can buy a controlling stake in Formula One.
Yeah, apparently so. Another issue that may have to be dealt with by Ecclestone and the FIA is the limitation of fuel in Formula One. We're talking about this again. Currently, teams are limited to 100 kilograms of fuel for each event on the schedule. You run out of gas, too bad, you don't get no more. You have a fuel flow rate of 100 kilograms per hour, no more, no less. Cyril Abiteboul of Renault's Works team said that he feels that it has Formula One leaning too much towards endurance, and he wants to see the limitations scrapped. But he does have opposition, naturally, from the two-time defending Manufacturers' Cup winner, Mercedes. Because why would they want to change something that they dominate?
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I think you should give everybody else, give them the 100. And give Mercedes 90.
See what they do with it. Abiteboul is insistent. He's quoted by European motorsports magazine Autosport as saying this, quote, we should not lean towards endurance. One of the things that has put F1 in danger, or could be another threat to F1, is if we try to combine F1 and endurance. Endurance is about efficiency, sustainability, the capacity to run very long distances without issue. F1 is about short races, usually being able to attack constantly. It's always been part of F1 without any form of limitation on fuel quantity. So I would remove the 100 kilogram fuel quantity. Abiteboul is also insistent that there would be a vote on whether or not to remove the fuel limitation or not. Now, this is something that would have to go through several of the different teams. Again, Mercedes, we already know, is against it. Ferrari, I'm not sure. They seem to be getting a handle on it, as witnessed by last year when they jumped up from, fourth in Constructors' Cup in 2014 to second last year, fighting for wins as well. I don't know how much support Renault is going to get in this effort to remove fuel limitations. I don't think much.
They're not going to get much, no.
Yeah, I didn't think so
much,
either.
if any.
Yeah. The FIA, the governing body of Formula One, has begun an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the crash that we talked about a couple of weeks ago in the season opener involving Fernando Alonso of the McLaren Honda team. An Italian newspaper, whose name I'm not even going to attempt to butcher, is reporting that the probe by Formula One's governing body was begun as it was revealed the crash actually broke Alonso's carbon fiber reinforced seat because the impact created 46 Gs.
What kind of seat was that again, Steve?
Carbon fiber reinforced.
That is some serious strength right there.
And it broke.
It broke it.
The investigation is not for purposes of punishment of any person or entity, but instead they're going to use the accident and the new rear-facing camera in order so that Formula One and the FIA and so many other racing organizations can learn more about the high-impact crashes and how they affect the drivers.
We talked about
that with the Dale Earnhardt thing, where he's donating his brain to concussion researchers when he passes away.
Yeah, and we've talked about that on so many different aspects when it comes to safety. You know, that's the one thing about racing. They are extremely great with safety. We've talked about the Halo system they're trying to implement, or the cockpit system they're trying to implement to protect the drivers. You know, these are the types of things, something happens, and this is their response to it. Luckily, Fernando Alonso able to go walk away, you know, from the wreck, and now we're going to find out why. Why did this happen? How do we fix it and move on?
That said, because of the crash, Fernando Alonso declared unfit to run at this weekend's Grand Prix of Bahrain. A medical examination that took place just Thursday morning determined he is not fully recovered from the injuries receiving in that crash that we just mentioned. He suffered rib fractures, multiple rib fractures. How many? Not revealed. Along with a small pneumothorax. Not exactly sure how to determine that. I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on the radio.
Google.
But it was found on his lung. Alonso said, though, that is almost gone, so I assume that a pneumothorax is something akin to a major bruise.
Yes, I concur.
So there you go. Should he have been cleared to race this weekend, and had he been involved in another crash, Alonso told media, quote, there was risk that the fracture could have punctured a lung.
Yeah,
it's not a good thing.
No.
Prompting doctors that stated that he needed to sit at least this race out. McLaren reserve driver, defending GP2 champion Stoffel Van Dorn, who was so insistent late last year that he was ready for Formula One, now he gets to prove it. He will be piloting the Alonso ride this weekend.
And we get to find out next week.
Absolutely. We were talking about Talladega short track.
Uh-oh.
It's like the fanfare to welcome him in.
Hear ye, hear ye.
Yes. The long-lost late model Mark. Where have you been?
I love that music. I feel so regal that I should have blue bonnet margarine on some bread today and a crown as well.
Well, normally we would roll out a red carpet, but for you, I think we'll roll out the purple carpet. How's that?
How about the orange carpet?
Orange carpet. I don't know. It's too bright for me.
All right. Very good. Hey, I've just caught bits and pieces of your show since I'm working my Golden Flake route like a madman this
morning. Tossing up chips, are we?
Yes, we are, sir. Hey, a couple things. I don't know if you may have mentioned it. NHRA lost one of the important factors over the last Monday.
We actually had not gotten to that yet, but we are going to, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mark Lyle, the starter for the NHRA, was lost in a tragic accident in Mexico. He was trying to save a friend.
Yeah.
Got caught in the riptide and didn't make it. Now, Mark has been only the third starter in the history of NHRA. Preceding him was Rick Stewart. He was a good starter, not my favorite. I actually saw Rick Stewart crash terribly at Lions Drag Strip in 1966, and he walked away. And when he woke up from being unconscious, the Watts riots were going on in Los Angeles.
Oh, my
so welcome aboard. And then before him, of course, was the absolute legend, one of the best officials and the best starter in the history of drag racing, Buster Cow. So my condolences to Mark Lyle, the Division 6 starter, is going to be doing the starting right now in Las Vegas. Speaking of Las Vegas, have you given out the results from the Denso Spark Plug Nationals at the Strip yet?
Not yet, no.
Okay, very good. Another thing before we get to Talladega is the Lucas Oil Late Model Series is in our area. Last night they were at Dale McDowell's Boyd Speedway in Ringgold, Georgia. If you guys can dig up some results, I'd like to hear them because I went to bed early and I didn't get any results. Secondly, they're at East Alabama Motor Speedway tonight in Phoenix City. First ever appearance at both of those tracks.
Nice.
And we're talking the big boys, Scott Bloomquist, Don O'Neill, Darrell Lanigan, Tim McCready, and Jonathan Superman Davenport, who's just unbelievable. So if you guys are down there in the listening area, the Lucas Oil Series is in the state of Alabama for its only visit.
Yeah, and it's good racing, by the way. Good racing there.
No, spectacular. So tonight,
what
we
you got?
open up the gates. We open up the gates at Talladega tonight for our season opener. Now, the report on the tower, the foundation is being built, and we had a lot of fun with the city of Oxford and the permitting process.
A lot of fun?
These guys, I'm on vacation, this guy's on vacation. There was some foot dragging, but everything is squared away, so the foundation work is underway. We should have it up by NASCAR weekend, according to Lynn Phillips, which is good. So I'll be announcing in the Crow's Nest in turn 4 tonight. But we're going to crack the gates at 5. Hot laps would be about 6:45, 6 divisions on hand, 3 late model divisions, and of course the Thunder Cars, Street Stocks, and the Hot Shots. So I'm raring and ready to go. I've been sick for about a week and a half, so is the missus. So my voice will probably be dead by the end of tonight, but I am ready to rock, and should be a good field of cars tonight at the short track.
But racing season is underway, and that automatically makes you feel better.
Oh, man, I tell you what. I'm ready to go and get back in the swing of things and hear the sound of the engine. It's been a long time since the Ice Bowl, and of course, you gentlemen are welcome. If you want to come out tonight, I can put your names in the deal. If not, the next time you come out.
Oh, yeah, looking forward to it. Real quick, before we let you go, I think Dustin's found some results for you.
Yeah, from last night, Chris Madden was the Lucas Oil Late Dirt Series, won the feature last night. Then scrolling up a little bit, we got Jamie Perry, the Crate Lates. He won the feature there. And Josh, and I think this is how I'm saying it right, Began, he was the winner in the Sportsman division.
Excellent. Now, see, Chris McDowell, his nickname is Smokey. He's from Grays Court, South Carolina. And he is a lot of people's not most favorite racer due to his aggressive tactics. And he was that gentleman I told you a couple of weeks ago that bonked one of Scott Bloomquist's crew on the mini bike because he was getting gestures. He's not very well-liked in some circles, but he's a very good racer. I've tried to talk to him a few times. He's not the most personable guy, but he's into it and serious, so I do respect that, and I'm not going to have a steak dinner with him, so what's the difference anyways? But, if you could, in your endeavors, maybe go down to the top 5 and do that, that would be grand. But are you guys coming out tonight?
We're going to do our best.
Okay, I'll just leave your name for 3 at the ticket booth, and once again, gates open at 5. Hot laps about 6:45. Qualifying for the Super Late's about 7:45.
Love it.
Should be really good. Our schedule's been delayed in getting out. We apologize for that, but we're firming up a couple of interesting races, so we should have a solid schedule. I mean, we have a preliminary schedule with our Southern All-Stars and the Neesmith Series and so on and so forth. So we'll have it squared away. Well, thanks for the forum, gentlemen. And
before you go, Mark, just so people know where to go to find out the information on the short track, on Talladega short track, could you put it out there? What's the different ways you can find out about all the racing?
Absolutely, Dustin. You can go to TalladegaShortTrack.com. That's our main website. You look on the left, and it kind of gives you a schedule of today's events as well as the go-kart track. And, of course, there is a Facebook page. And I don't know about that tweeting and Twitter stuff. Maybe there's something on there. I don't even know what the heck that stuff's all about. But, real quick, since, it is one of my favorite tracks, Martinsville.
Yeah.
I hope it's not too much of a demolition derby, but I expect about 15 cautions and looking forward to the truck race today and tomorrow Sunday, and then Vegas from the Drags of Vegas at 4 o'clock. Very excited about that. Here's a tidbit. First 2 out of the 3 Top Fuel races so far this year have been won by the ladies.
That's
Go
true.
ladies.
That's true.
Right,
Ladies are
gentlemen.
on fire.
Good call. Get out there, throw out those chips, and be ready to run, brother.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon.
See you, Mark.
Bye-bye.
He has exited the building, ladies and gentlemen.
Walking down the purple carpet as we speak. Very cool. Been a while. Now we understand why. He's been feeling a little bit under the weather here the past couple of weeks.
Everybody's kind of been feeling under the weather. I want everybody to stay far, far away from me.
Yeah, really. No kidding.
Especially race season, Talladega
I've been
short
able to
track.
avoid that so far this year. I'd like to keep it that way. Thank you very much.
I got a can of Lysol in my back pocket.
Yeah, really.
Actually, we got one right here on the table.
Yeah, really. Okay, a couple of years ago when we had the whole Juan Pablo Montoya running into the jet dryer thing, and we found out that Brad Keselowski had a cell phone in his car because he was live tweeting everything that was going on with the pictures and updating everybody on the big delay.
Yeah.
Now NASCAR has this thing that says, hey, listen, no cell phones in the car. That's only for specific areas.
Right.
Now Formula One's saying the same thing. And they've specifically leveled the charge at 2-time defending Formula One champion Lewis Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
He's no longer allowed to use the app Snapchat while he's on the Formula One paddock. Bernie Ecclestone handed the ruling down somewhat appropriately on April Fool's Day. Hamilton had been prolific on the social media site, even getting into a little bit of trouble for some motorcycle videos that New Zealand authorities were investigating for a short time. Told you about that a couple of weeks ago. Ecclestone has stated that Hamilton is not allowed to film any footage on the paddock, mainly because Ecclestone says Formula One has their own video rights, which could be adversely affected since broadcasters around the world pay millions of dollars for the rights to televise the series. It all
Really?
gets down to the bottom line of dollars and cents, boys and girls.
Yeah, but for those people who do know about Snapchat, it's a 15-second video that is gone in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And you can screenshot a picture.
If he had said something like maybe he might catch some proprietary technology from another team, I might have gone with it.
Yeah.
But now he's going to throw out the old video rights thing. Yeah.
You're costing us money with your 15-second video. You know, that's the thing. We talk about it all the time. All across racing, these guys get involved with Periscope and Vines and everything else. That was kind of cool. It was a different perspective. You get a little bit of, Lewis talking about the weekend, things are going on. You got a chance, you got a different glimpse of what's happening on a daily basis. Now it's taken away from us.
No more.
No more.
2 Australian states could be competing with each other for future season opening slots for Formula One. Queensland's major events minister, Kate Jones, recently spoke to media, was quoted by the newspaper Gold Coast Bulletin as saying, quote, "Of course, we would love to talk to Formula One about coming to the Gold Coast. We are always looking for quality events to attract visitors and investment to Queensland." Bernie Ecclestone replied to that report by telling media that he's currently very happy with the job Melbourne has been doing hosting the season opener, but that a change of venue could never be ruled out, saying, quote, "It would be a shame if we did move, but circumstances change a lot and things happen in the world, so let's wait and see." Queensland currently does not have a dedicated road racing course, but the Gold Coast does host a street race for the Australian V8 Supercar Series, so they might be able to utilize that course, assuming Formula One agreed to it. Could Formula One be interested in gambling on a Las Vegas Grand Prix?
Cross your fingers.
Could be. City did host Formula One for 2 years, 1981 and 1982. Ecclestone has hinted that he would like to have a second Formula One event in the United States as well. He's been very vocal about having that event happen in the western part of the United States. When he was asked about it upon his arrival in Bahrain, Ecclestone first denied rumors that a contract with Las Vegas already existed and then added, quote, "I'm going to be talking to them in another 10 minutes. Wow. It's possible that there could be an event there. They're going to have a Formula E race anyway. That's coming up, I think, next year as opposed to this year where it's at Long Beach. He added that should the two sides come to an agreement, it would be another couple of years. The race, he adds, would be in addition to the current U.S. Grand Prix being held in Austin, Texas, and make the United States the only country to have 2 Formula One events, should that actually happen. Speaking of Formula E, Faraday Futures named Monday as the title sponsor of this weekend's Long Beach E-Prix. This is the 6th of 10 stops for the second season of the Young Series. The race is also going to be a chance for the company to showcase their FF01 concept car. This is not a racer, by the way. This is actually something that they're going to try and put out for people like us who can't afford it to go buy. It's the first time it's been shown since the recent Las Vegas Consumer Electronics Show. Faraday Futures headquarters is, naturally, located in Southern California, actually only minutes away from the road course. I mentioned that. Tesla Motors is out there. They've got a couple of different ones. They just recently introduced their Tesla 3 or whatever they call it, which is now $35,000, which I'll grant is more affordable than the $80,000 to $100,000 other iterations of Tesla.
Yeah.
So the technology is getting there to make it a little more affordable, but $35,000 is still out of this boy's price range.
Yeah, especially for a car that, you could sit there and play checkers and whatever, and it drives for you.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't want that.
No.
Google, stop making the car that drives itself.
Did you see that video?
I can't stand that.
There was a video that these guys put out. They were driving a Tesla, and it changed lanes. It negotiated the turns. Didn't slow down. Maintained the pace with the car in front of it. I was like, and they're sitting there playing checkers and that game with the little fishing poles where you try to get the fish as they plop around. They're doing all kinds of different things. Not even looking at the road. Oh, let's just blow safety out the window. We're supposed to keep our eyes on the road.
Exactly. Well, mentioning that, we'll skip over the story, come back to it in a second. Officials with the FAA Formula E, as we mentioned on the show here back in November, are planning a support series for the all-electric racing series, which would feature driverless cars. Thursday, the first pictures of these proposed racers were shown. There are big pods over each of the wheels that will reportedly be used not only for aerodynamics, but to help the car recognize the walls around each of the courses, allowing the racers' computers to map out the course for the race. Each of these races in the series, it's being dubbed, by the way, Robo Race. Yikes. It's going to mirror the 2016-2017 Formula E schedule. It'll run an hour-long event before Formula E takes to the same course. It'll feature 10 two-car teams. One of those teams reportedly is reserved as a crowd-sourced community team. All cars are going to be identical, built by the same organization. The difference is how the teams set up the racers' computing algorithms and AI tech. This is fatally fascinating to me.
It is, and every RC-loving fan out there just went, I could finally be a racer from my mom's basement.
This is the funkiest looking car.
It is. I saw it. It's freaky looking.
Ever seen, and it's so weird. But, and this stretches the boundaries of quote-unquote open-wheel racing.
It does, but at the same time, you look at the avenues that a lot of guys do nowadays. You look at like iRacing.com and all those different series. They're getting very big. I mean, we have racers like NASCAR racers and such that actually go out and do these races too, just sitting at home. Yeah. So this is kind of that movement forward that we've been seeing. We've been seeing that online racing kind of move progressively forward, and now it's moving to on track. So now we were talking about people with disabilities earlier. Yeah. We're talking about people that might not get the opportunity to go out and do something like that. Now, this opens up a wide door for even more people who might want to do something like this.
It does. Again, I will probably check this out, but they're really going to have to impress me for me to stick with it.
I'm extremely optimistic about it. I was kind of at first about it, but as I sat there and I thought about it and just thought about the fact that they're just basically big, huge RC cars.
They are. They're full-size RC cars.
It turns into that dream as a kid. You're sitting there racing an RC car. Man, I'd love to do this full-time for a job, for life. Now you got your opportunity.
Maybe so. Boom. One more note in Formula E where fans can help out their favorite driver. You can vote online to get them what they call the fan boost. It's an increase in power for that next event. For this weekend's Long Beach E-Prix, one driver was willing to go to some extremes. Daniel Apt Tuesday tweeted out his daring plan, said he'd be willing to go naked and sing Taylor Swift songs on the grid should he win. At the time that he tweeted it out, he was 10th in fan boost standings, decided to take the drastic plunge into daring do. The results, I have no idea.
Oh, don't even want to know.
I pray that he didn't win.
Please don't help him win.
Interesting sideshow this weekend set to take place when the NHRA invades Las Vegas. Five-time NHRA Pro Stock champion Jeg Coughlin Jr. going to be the 8th and final participant in this weekend's 32nd annual K&N Horsepower Challenge. The 8 participants were voted on by fans closing last weekend. Coughlin being determined the final winner. It slots him 8th in the 8-car field, and it means that he's going to take on the 1 seed, Greg Anderson, in the first round. Others running in the challenge include Erica Enders, Jason Line, Chris McGahey, Drew Skillman, Shane Gray, and Alan Johnson. Enders attempting to defend her win from last year. The field this season features 4 previous winners of the challenge, 11 total challenge win among the participants. The challenge is set to take place between qualifying rounds for the Denso Spark Plugs NHRA Nationals later today, Saturday, as we air live on Saturday morning. It will be shown during coverage this afternoon on Fox Sports 1. The winner's going to get $50,000 with the potential of that to be doubled because should you win the challenge and also win the Pro Stock event this weekend, they're going to double that news. And then late model Mark mentioned this. Sad news out from the NHRA Monday. Their chief starter, Mark Lyle, passed away unexpectedly Sunday. Lyle had been the chief starter for the NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series since 2012. As late model Mark mentioned, only the 3rd chief starter in series history, followed in the footsteps of the late Buster Couch, who served in the role from 1955 through 1996, and then Rick Stewart, who was the chief starter from 1997 through 2011. Lyle moved up to the NHRA from being the official starter at Pacific Raceways in the NHRA's Northwest Division from 2000 to 2012. He was then hired by the NHRA. This weekend, the NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series will run as scheduled in Vegas. Division 6 starter Mike Giddings has been named to take over the duties of Mark Lyle for this weekend. Motorsport.com reports that Lyle was on vacation with his wife, Marcia, celebrating his birthday last Sunday when he saw a friend struggling in the waters off of the coast of Mexico. When he went into the water to assist, he unfortunately was lost. Man. Our thoughts and our prayers go out to Mark Lyle and everybody, all of his friends, family, and everybody at the NHRA, because that's tough when you stop and think about that. Some guy who was as respected as Mark Lyle has been. I don't know that much about the NHRA, but I started looking up stuff about Mark Lyle. And
he pops up everywhere.
Yeah, the more I found out about him, the more he just kept coming up as being one of the most respected people out there. So, yeah, our thoughts and our prayers definitely go out to him for that, because that's tough. I mean, no matter how you slice and dice it, losing somebody is tough anyway.
Yeah.
But when you lose somebody in a manner like that, where they're going out there and they're legitimately caring about a friend more than they necessarily care about their own safety, and for them to go do that, that's just it blows me away. I'm
and you're bringing that
amazing.
up. I mean, that's a big shout out to all of our first responders as well, firefighters, police, EMS, everybody who, just like Mark, they go out every single day and put their lives on the line for friends, for strangers, and stuff like that. So it's just he's a hero.
He is. Yeah. I will say that very easily. There are certain people in this world that will go out there and instead of running away from danger, they're going to run to it.
Yeah.
We talk about the military, most notably Marines. You're a Marine.
That's right.
Retired, but you're a Marine. And you are the guys that are supposed to, upon danger, immediately run to it, not away from it. There are safety personnel on tracks, whatever the motorsport is, that realize that this is a burning vehicle. It could potentially explode, but you know what? We got to go in there. We got to help that driver get out of that car. Mm-hmm. They get that. Those are the people that you have the ultimate respect for. I have not had to deal with that, quite frankly, in my life. I would like to think I'd be the person that would go to the danger instead of away from it because I have a fairly protective personality, but you don't know until you're put into that position. You follow what I'm saying?
You don't, and not only me being military, being a firefighter as well, former firefighter, looking to get back in. As a matter of fact, actually, maybe later on this week. I don't know, but
I'm thinking you're talking to your significant other, right?
No, actually, this is all my own, so I don't really care. But that's one thing they always said. You brought up is when everybody else is running out of the burning buildings, we're the crazy
people running in. All right. Real quick, back to Formula E. We talked about the Taylor Swift promise. Stefan Sarrazin continues to lead fan boost standings in his bid to get that extra 100 kilojoules of energy for this weekend's race. He is first. In second place is Mexico City race winner Jerome D'Ambrosio. He's closed the gap on Sarrazin, so close race there. Mahindra driver Nick Heidfeld runs third, while Lucas de Grassi is close behind in fourth. Daniel Abt, who again announced on Twitter he would arrive on the grid naked while singing Taylor Swift songs should he get the fan boost. He did go up from 10th to 7th.
Please don't take him to the top.
I don't think he's going to make it.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
We got to go.
Yeah, big shout out to our buddy Jim Moore. Shop Talk.
Happy birthday to the host of Shop Talk. And when you call into the show a little bit later on today from noon to 2, make sure you rag him about his birthday.
And make sure you tune into all the other great shows that we've got right here on Superstation 101.
Your House Inside and Out coming up at 9 o'clock. We've got then, of course, Shop Talk coming up from noon to 2. Lock it in, 4 to 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there is a replay of this particular show. And then tonight, Josh Coy, Radio Underground. Great weekend here. Great weekend of racing as well.
Yes.
Martinsville.
Enjoy the paperclip.
Love it. See ya.
See ya.